What's going on, guys? Evan the Dark Souls enthusiast here for another Dark Souls gameplay commentary on the PlayStation 3. This is going to be a continuation of my Dark Souls Let's Play series where I show you how to easily locate all the items in an area and bring down all the enemies. This should be a pretty comprehensive Let's Play on how to get through all the areas on Dark Souls. There's very little editing done, mostly loading screens and some other odds ends. But now that I've worn out my usual tired introduction, let me sort of do an outline of what we're going to talk about today. I want to talk about the Duke's Archives. In this video you'll see how to get the Avelyn, because I know that brings a lot of people to Duke's Archives videos. So I'm going to talk about the Duke's Archives, some of the highlights of it, some of the nuisances of it, and this is of course part 2. Part 1 was previously uploaded. And I will also talk a little bit about the channel, updates, changes, etc., answer a few questions. The subscribers Q&A session, which is now closed officially, will be uploaded on Wednesday, where I will answer all the questions that were posted on my previous call for questions. So, with that said, I'm going to carry on into the actual gameplay commentary of the Duke's Archives. The Duke's Archives in general is one of the areas of the game where the only thing that's probably going to get you killed is either overconfidence or just confusion. I remember on my first playthrough ever of Dark Souls where I got to the Duke's Archives and finished the game, which were obviously on the same playthrough, because the Duke's Archives were, I believe, the second to last area I actually went through. I got pretty lost. It's a multi-tiered, multi-layered area, and concern about missing items were flooding my mind, questions about how do I get to these different areas, etc., Well, in this video, of course, you'll visually see how to get around all that stuff, but more importantly, I want to talk about some general things just to keep in mind when you're going through the Duke's Archives that I think make things simpler. Okay, first off, all of these crystal skeleton guys, they don't drop any items of value. They drop like crystal weapons, which the crystal short sword and crystal shield, things like that. These weapons are quite literally useless. They will not be good temporary weapons, they will not be good long-term weapons. They basically serve no function but to pollute your inventory. Their only use is basically to set on the ground and hope they become remnants to go attack other players for giggles, because most players never get to see a remnant. For those of you that don't know, a remnant is when an item is left behind on the ground. It'll eventually become a monster and go into somebody else's world. Not particularly exciting or relevant, just sort of an FYI. For those of you who haven't heard of them, you can obviously Google them or check them out on Wikipedia. I have never actually, well, that's not true. I have not seen a remnant for several months. I have seen one remnant playing this game, and it's been a long time since. Being Gravelord's Covenanted and finding remnants are probably the two rarest things that occur to me in Dark Souls. But back to the Duke's Archives. The area is divided into two sections. One section is the side which you came in on and got killed by Seif, which took you down to the prison, which I showed in the first part of the gameplay commentary. The reason that you did not see this area previously is because it was closed off, which probably goes without saying for those of you that have done this before, but this is going to be those commentaries where I'm going to talk directly about the gameplay, because I haven't done that in a long time. Mainly because I've done so many Dark Souls Let's Plays, I kind of thought I had talked out all the areas, but never really thought I gave the Duke's Archives its proper dues, so let's carry on. The enemies here, of course, as I previously said, are the crystal golems, which are not dangerous at all. They do come in numbers, however, and all of their attacks do not chip at all, provided you have 100% physical block shield, which you probably should if you're just trying to PvE through the game. Just trying to get through areas and stuff like that. Not being chipped by random attacks is actually really convenient. In addition, there is an extremely valuable item here, which is extremely difficult to get, which I will reveal later. When it comes to these channelers here, these guys are actually fairly dangerous. Once they are struck, they will either attack you back or teleport. Most usually they teleport. The location they teleport to is scripted. That walkie dance you see him doing powers up all the enemies around him. If you see anything with a little blue glow around it, that means he's been powered up by a channeler and is actually extremely dangerous. Enemies that are powered by the channeler, oh my gosh, I'm not sure the exact increase in the damage of the enemies, but a couple of enchanted or buffed enemies, if you will, can definitely get you killed. So just steer clear. If they get buffed, play cautiously, spear them down, pick them off one at a time, or if you're confident, you've been through this game a lot of times, just go in wailing, because it does not add additional hit stun reduction to them. They will still be hit stunned by the same number of attacks. They are, however, faster and dealing more damage, which is all an enemy really needs to be dangerous, is speed and damage. So you really don't need to go back in the first area where you spawned in. The other side, the side which you come out, is actually the only side you need to go to access the next area of the game. An easy way to do this is actually to visually look around. I know it sounds like, well, no duh, but I actually didn't do it a lot. I kind of wandered around different paths trying to locate things just by exploring the entire area. And that can get confusing because, frankly, there is nothing in most of the Duke's archives. The only really valuable items are the Avelyn crossbow, which I will show later in the video, don't worry, and there'll be an annotation on how to... darn it. There will be an annotation linking you to that part of the video. As usual, I'm having a hard time going through my word choice perfectly. Secondly, there is a magical spell that you will probably never use. It's like Greater Magic Barrier, I want to say. No, that's a miracle, I'm sorry. It's coming up ahead, but it basically buffs a weapon, and that's, you know, relatively useful, depending on your character build. If you're not playing a spellcaster, though, or, you know, Occusile spellcaster, then most of the items here are pretty much worthless, other than the Avelyn, which I keep coming back to. The Avelyn is probably one of my favorite items in the game. Unfortunately, it's probably the most annoying item in the game to locate. Most of the areas I'm going through in the Duke's Archives, you don't actually have to go through. It's just kind of in my nature to clear out the entire area before I move on. And for those of you that don't know, if you haven't defeated the area boss, every enemy you kill can randomly drop a humanity, stuff like that. The channelers also drop their trident, which isn't a very useful or practical item. It's not completely bad, but it is one of the rare weapons required to get the Knight's Honor achievement, which is all rare weapons. So that's a significant thing to keep in mind, is going through here with 10 humanity and a serpent ring. That's a great way to ensure that, well, you can't really ensure, but that's a great way to increase the chances that a channeler will drop his coveted trident for you. Farming a trident really doesn't take that long, but it's all a matter of luck. As in any game with random drops, all you can really do is just keep running it until it drops, but the statistics on it are not so low that you have to be too worried about it. There, strong magic shield. That actually is a completely useless sorcerer on any character build. Okay, so the only useful item in the archives is the Avelyn. And of course the Avelyn is difficult to get. It's actually on a chest that resides on top of one of the bookcases. Unfortunately, the only way to get on top of that bookcase is to turn one of these rotating ladders, jump off, land on the bookcase, crack the chest, and grab the item. But, you know, that'll come at a later time. The reason I don't recommend going for it right away is the fact that if you miss it at all, you will die. Slow fall, does not matter what you put on your character, how much vitality you have. If you miss your landing, you are dead. And missing your landing is more likely than not. So, my point is, you want to complete the area first by coming into this area, going down this long ladder. Make sure you slide. If you didn't know, you can slide down ladders. I went through a big portion of the game on my first playthrough not knowing Circle lets you slide down ladders, which I had forgotten from Demon Souls. But once you pull that lever, you will actually access the main corridor by the bonfire. The reason you didn't rest at the bonfire right away was, providing you can play somewhat competently and get through the entire area, you can actually locate the key, the giant archive key, to free Big Hat Logan, which I showed in part 1 of these videos. You want to free Big Hat, if nothing else, just to get the items he makes available to you, but more importantly because he's freaking cool and his quest line or his story is pretty neat, especially for a Souls game, which really doesn't take the individual character development of NPCs too terribly far, which I'm okay with. See, there's the tower key. So the reason obtaining the tower key is important before going for the Avelyn is, now if you wind up dying during the process, you'll be transported back to the bonfire in the prison. Since you'll have to go back that way anyway to get Logan out of his cell, it's best just to get the key first. That way if you die, at least it saves you time on having to walk back. And if you don't die, you can of course, you know, homeward bone back to the prison, etc. It's just a time saver. Obviously, if you're more comfortable sleeping at the bonfire right away, that is certainly an option. This path here actually exits out of the Duke's Archives. You probably don't want to take this point right away. This video was not recorded as a walkthrough. None of my Let's Plays are recorded in a walkthrough format, so I don't always take the most optimal route through areas. However, I do try to show every possible item drop, etc., 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 etc. Of course, I just picked up one of the useless, worth-nothing shields. I always thought that maybe it'd be a cool Easter egg that if those shields sold to Frompt for a lot, but they actually don't. I think they sell for like 2 or 4 souls a piece, so farming those guys to get souls is not particularly effective. The gold golem here is part of the... Oops, sorry, my phone was going off. This area here, this golem rather, is part of the quest line for the Onion Brother, the Onion Knights, Seagate and Siglande or whatever. I'm sorry, I don't remember the pronunciations, but I'm sure someone will correct me in the comments because that's just how it works. But in order to get this, you actually have to have talked to her father in the various areas in the game, and describing all of them in this video would not be worthwhile. It would be kind of lengthy. But one thing I can talk about is make sure you go to Blighttown and talk to her dad first so the golem appears here if you're trying to finish the quest line, because it'd be kind of annoying if you come out here, realize she's not there, then have to go back to Blighttown and just go way back through the process. So make sure you check out the quest line on a wiki or online or something like that so you can ensure that you follow the steps correctly, because it is unmissable in this game that if you do it out of order or you screw it up, sometimes it doesn't work out the way you want it to, and that could short you a Titanite slab. There's really nothing from the quest line that's essential, so if you missed it, don't go restarting your character in some kind of panic, because New Game Plus will cure any missables. Plus, I mean, frankly, even if you never completed the quest line, you're only out a Titanite slab, which, while valuable, is not so valuable that it was worth deleting a character. So behind me is the bonfire. It's directly at the base of the stairs of the second chamber, the one you come out of from the prison. And once again, I have not used that bonfire because I fully expect to die while getting the Avelyn. That way, if I die en route to the Avelyn, I'll respawn with the key and be able to get Big Hat. Then I can run back through with all the enemies respawn and deal with getting Avelyn over and over and probably dying over and over. But if you don't die, you're really not out anything. All the enemies are dead, so you just have to run back, etc. I really do believe that this is the optimal way to go through the Duke's Archives. It just saves a little bit of running time, and I'm pretty proud of it because I like to... it seems kind of classy using death as a method to expedite your travel through an area. But in any case, here comes the Avelyn jump. I don't really have any tips for this, except the jump is usually later than you expect. You're always usually going to wind up jumping just a little after you think you would. And it's pretty hard to judge it with your eyes. But in any case, I come down and get the lucky jump. Here's the coveted Avelyn. I was really excited at this. I wish I was commentating this live because you guys could have heard me screaming some merry profanities into my crappy headset while I grab this stuff. Still trying to save up some money, guys, for a better headset. I know it's in high demand, and live comms have been probably the most requested thing on this channel, but I just don't have the money for a nice headset. But I think the day is coming, and when it does, I will definitely tell you guys how I got the funding, just to sort of complete the story. I've also made some deals recently that I'm not going to go into in this particular video that might help me raise some revenue, things like that. But once again, another conversation for another time. So at this point, the Duke's Archives is basically complete. All the items of value have been obtained. Now we're just going to go back and rescue Big Hat. And once we rescue Big Hat, then we have to backtrack all the way out of here and go down to the Crystal Cave, which will not be in this video. The Crystal Cave and the Seath boss fight will be in the next installment of my New Game Plus walkthrough series. So, having completed all the necessary parts of the walkthrough that require narration, I'm now going to break into some other topics I had prepared because I knew that commentating this area would not take me as long as getting through it. Because if you haven't noticed, I get lost in the Duke's Archives pretty much routinely. Even after playing through the game this many times, I still get confused and lost. I don't have any trouble in Blighttown. I've got Blighttown down. I can just run through Blighttown, never miss an item, never waste a second. But in this area, I can't say the same. I do get lost because I can never remember which level things are on. Of course, finding the two passages are the most critical part. The white-colored passage is how you get back to the prison. The passage with a candle in front of it, it's lit, has like illumination. That is how you progress through the level. So that's a good way to think of it. So just do a 360 spin, look around whenever you're in the archive, and always be headed towards the torchlight if you're going for completion. And it's, of course, you get there off the first chamber, not the second. Additionally, if you can't find out how to get over there, like you're like, I can't find the passage over, it's because it revolves around those revolving ladders. It revolves around those revolving ladders. Well, that's not confusing. The method to get there is to make use of the revolving ladders. There you go. I'll just correct myself rather than stopping the commentary and rewinding. That is something I used to do when I first got into commentaries, was stopping, rewinding, deleting, chunking, stuff like that. And at the end, the commentaries just felt so unnatural. I still do retakes and things like that, but typically, once I start a commentary, if I can make about the 3-minute mark with satisfaction, I just grind it out to the end and try to correct myself in commentary. Try to make myself sound more human. At least that's what I tell myself anyway. Being that I am human, I'm not like evil ego xeno robot. Well, that'd be pretty sweet. I'm really into science fiction. I'm really into fantasy science fiction. I'm pretty much a mega nerd. The only thing I'm not a huge fan of is talking about the current reality, unless we're talking about politics, because I was a political science major, and I'm very interested in politics. Not so much debating them as talking about them. The philosophy major in me necessitates the belief that there is a difference between a debate and a discussion. Sometimes finding the discussion and getting out of the debate is the hardest challenge of a good speaker, so that's always something I try to breed on the channel, is discussion rather than debate. There's nothing wrong with debate. I enjoy rhetoric, I enjoy debate, but there's so much of it in modern society that maybe we should try to push for a little more discussion. But once again, another topic for another time. Other highlights of the Duke's Archives. For those of you that are mages out there, this is finally the moment where you get all the crystal spells from Logan, which is a big deal because the crystal spells are easily the most powerful spells in the game. Once you finish the Seath quest line, you'll actually get access to the Tin Crystallization Catalyst, the most powerful catalyst in the game, at least for PvP and PvE, but it does have the number of casts. For PvP, I think there's no contest that you should be using the Tin Crystallization Catalyst. Having your spells isn't significant because basically you want to get as much bang for your buck in the spells as possible. It's not so much about having a number of casts, because standing around casting at the enemy rarely works unless it's basically Great Combustion, or you're just spamming spells that enemies facing the wrong way in the forest. That's what I like to do, is like the mega powerful Crystal Soul Spear, enemies looking away from you, just take it to the back and instantly die. Or there's enough lag that you can keep spraying them until it hits them. But in either case, landing hits with spells is pretty rare against a good opponent, so you want them to do as much damage as possible on the off chance it actually does hit them, i.e. you want to drop them instantly. Or if you get like a sick read and you just know your opponent is going to try to flask, so you fire one off and he stops and flasks and gets drilled, that's pretty rewarding too. But we're quickly approaching the end of this commentary, so I just want to cut to a couple more things before the end. Some channel updates. I know you guys found the new intro a little boring, but the previous intro utilized some footage from some anime and some music from an anime, things like that. It was all edited, and it's all fair use, I believe. I don't think there's any true copyright infringement there, but I'm not exactly sure. But either way, it's just something I want to take off the channel. I am working on a new intro, or trying to find someone to make me a new intro. Looking for something plain, with a little bit of sound effects, a little bit of images, you know. It's a work in progress. I'm not exactly sure that's going to come out, so expect a new channel layout, expect a new intro. I elaborate on the intro, and the channel layout self-explanatory. I like the current one I have, made by Flesh, my buddy, but I'm looking for something a little easier on the eyes, maybe something with some more graphics and some more interactive stuff. Unfortunately, in order to make my channel look really cool, I have to have some kind of partnership with some entity on YouTube that will enable my account for partner status. So that's something I'm looking into, I'm working on right now. I wouldn't hold your breath though. I don't know if my channel is at the point where anyone would be particularly interested. I guarantee you Machinima would not be interested. Machinima, excuse me. Because in other videos I say things like, you know, I don't have money and stuff. It's like, oh, just get on Machinima and make a lot of money. The amount of applications Machinima receives, along with all of these institutionally partnered channel, is truly staggering. So you have to be something exceptional, or at least you have to catch the eye of a recruiter to get on any kind of partnership program. So that's why I haven't. That, and some of them require X number of uploads a week, things like that, and I just don't want to relinquish any creative control of my channel. I just kind of want the partners perks of having a cooler looking channel, stuff like that, to make my content better for you guys. If I ever was able to receive money for doing these videos, it would be nice to put it towards equipment, but I don't know if that's going to happen in the near future. But anyway, those are the channel updates. Looking for a way to get the pieced out YouTube design. Also looking for a way to maybe make a little revenue. Not really. Revenue's never really been a concern. I'm not doing this professionally to make a lot of money. I'm just doing this for pleasure and to interact with a community that I can sort of call my own. I definitely think of my subscribers as my own community, and I'm very proud of that base that I've developed. So hopefully I can continue to grow the channel. I know that the PvP requests keep coming in. I'm sure if I did Dark Souls PvP all the time, the channel would grow at the fastest rate possible. But frankly, I don't want to become a one-trick pony, because as great of a game as Dark Souls is, maybe even timeless, eventually it's just going to get stale. Anything can get stale after enough exposure. So there definitely will be more PvP content coming, definitely from the PC, maybe a little more from console. But I am definitely, if you guys haven't noticed, trying to expand my channel into covering more games. Demon Souls, Dota 2, Call of Duty Black Ops 2, other PC games, whatever I can do to just diversify the channel so it's not like a Dark Souls stop. I definitely want to be a one-stop shop for all things Dark Souls, but I also want to have other related content and expand the channel as much as possible. But that's just sort of an interview, and overview. So we are at the end of the commentary, so I appreciate you guys watching. Thank you for your time, and I hope everyone enjoyed. This is definitely an attempt to be a little more formal than usual, so let me know if you guys like it. Not all videos will be this way. I try to even vary my style in these, once again, to keep things interesting. So thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the Crystal Cave next time.